Well, hello everybody, welcome back. I'm really glad that you could join me once again. So for this episode, I thought that I would share the story of my home. And what I mean by that is that I invite you to join me here every single week in my home. So I thought that it would be fun to share some of the things that I've done since I've moved here, how my home has evolved over the years, and what I plan to do in the near future. As you come here every week, I'm sure you've seen all of the changes. But recently, I was in the Highlands for the weekend, and when I returned here, I just felt an overwhelming sense of peace and calm. And so I thought that it would be fun for me to share some of the ways that I've made my home feel this way, and how that you can do it too for your homes. So welcome, and I hope you will enjoy this episode. So first, let me give you a little bit of backstory about my home. For those of you who've never watched this channel or who are relatively new, I live in Edinburgh in the New Town. Now, even though it sounds like it might have been built 20 years ago, the New Town is actually quite old, and it was developed between 1767 and 1850. Now, the New Town is a very special part of Edinburgh, and it's most famous for its Georgian neoclassical architecture. The streets are lined with handsome, elegant townhouses, and it has a very elegant feeling, very symmetrical, perfectly laid out, which gives it its elegance and why people like it here so much. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to live in this part of Edinburgh. So I've lived in this current flat for 2 years, and previous to that I lived just in the next street in a ground floor flat with my ex-boyfriend. Now, I never wanted to move to Edinburgh. He was the one who wanted to move here. Even though Edinburgh is a beautiful place, it wasn't somewhere that I could ever imagine living. I didn't think I would know anyone or make any friends, and I thought that the weather would be terrible, which it can be, and that I wouldn't enjoy living here. But we have since broke up 2 years ago. I started living here on my own, and now Edinburgh is my home and where I want to live for the next few years at least. For me, it is a wonderful place to live, despite the weather. I really do love living here, and it's definitely a place that I would recommend living or visiting. So yes, my first apartment was a 1-bedroom ground floor flat in a Georgian building. It was really beautiful. If you've been following this channel since the beginning, you would have seen that flat on the first videos. It had very high ceilings, beautiful Georgian sash windows, and the proportions were excellent. I decided to leave that flat and move to this one because I was going to be living by myself. I wanted to have one extra bedroom so that my friends and family could visit and stay here with me. In the previous flat I only had 1 bedroom, so it meant that nobody could visit. I also wanted a little outdoor space because I have a dog called Sophie, and so I really fell in love with the lower ground floor apartments that you see throughout Edinburgh. They're sometimes called basement flats or garden apartments, and they are the lower level of the townhouses. You get a little courtyard garden at the front and the back, and I just found them to be so charming. They kind of reminded me of like little cottages in the heart of the city, so the best of both worlds. Now, although this flat is rented, when I moved here it was completely empty, completely unfurnished. I just came and there were white walls, nothing else. Obviously we had kitchens and bathrooms, but as for everything else, all of the furniture and decor that you see in this apartment belongs to me and has been redecorated by me, which has been such a fun thing to do over the last 2 years. I've really enjoyed it. Now, in terms of the future, if you've been watching for a while, you will know that I've always got my eye on property. It is one of my biggest passions. I love homes and moving house. For the last year, I've talked about moving to Italy, and as you know now, I've decided that is not going to happen. So I have started looking around Edinburgh at what is available again. Now, even though I just said that I moved out of my previous apartment to move to this one, I do kind of miss the elegant Georgian proportions of living on a ground floor. You get the higher ceilings, the space is a lot different, and I do miss the light. One of my very good friends, Nathan Rowlinson, who I did an interview here with on this channel, lives in a ground floor apartment just around the corner from me. I visit him quite a lot, and I think that is one of the reasons that my urge to get back into that kind of flat has been ignited. I just really do adore his apartment, and I kind of miss having those elegant proportions. But I am realistic, and I know that my home is really beautiful, and I'm very lucky to live here. So I'm not saying that I'm going to be moving house, but I've definitely got my eye on the market. So yes, these buildings are wonderfully built. They're so elegant and handsome. They've got great proportions. I mean, even being in a basement flat, my windows are enormous. I've got pretty high ceilings. So you are very blessed if you live here to get such elegant proportions and to live in such incredible architecture. I feel very lucky to be here. So in terms of the decor of this home, I have changed it quite a lot, and I think that is a natural process. When you first move into a house, you do have the desire to decorate and make it a home, but sometimes it's better to live here for a little while, see how the light comes into a room, see how you live in a room, so that you can make some really good decorating decisions. I am not that person. I'm the person who has to go in there straight away and get started. That is just who I am. I like to make a home, and I wouldn't be able to just sit around and not do anything. So I understand completely if you're that way too. But because of that, I've made a few decorating mistakes, and I've had to really think about how I live and what I want in my home. But I've enjoyed every process of decorating. I've enjoyed learning from my mistakes, and actually the mistakes that I've made haven't been so dramatic that I couldn't live with them. It's just been things like the light that comes through at certain points of day. They don't really work with paint colours that I've chosen, for example. So for the longest time I painted this room in a colour by Fern called Mouse's Back. It was a beautiful, rich, earthy colour, but at the end of the day it was just too dark in this room, which doesn't get huge amounts of light, especially in the winter. So it's things like that that you have to think about when you are decorating a home. Think about the light, how much light you actually get, the seasons where you live. Does the light become almost non-existent for most of the winter like it does here? If so, a darker colour may not be the best choice. But yes, for me, the colour that you choose to paint a room really has an overall effect, how it makes you feel and the vibe that it gives to the space. So the colour that I have right now is a colour called Beige 03, and it's from a company called Lick. I only painted this colour a few months ago, and I can tell you that it has changed my life. It may sound dramatic to say that, but the way this room makes me feel now when I come home, it just works, and that is the magic of paint. So a great thing for me, if you want to improve the feeling of your home, the way that it makes you feel, take a look at the paint colour. Is it working? Does something need to change? And if it does, take your time to pick a colour that really works in the room, and I promise you it will transform it. I think another very important thing to make your home a really wonderful place is to think about what you fill it with. The objects, the artworks, the accessories like cushions and lamps. That is something that has been a real journey for me. My style has always been very personal to who I am, and at one point it was very different to what you see now. I've lived in a lot of places over the last 10 years. One of the places that I lived for the longest time was the Cotswolds in England. Now, because that is a beautiful place filled with heavenly gardens and it's very much in the countryside, my style aesthetic at that point was more English country elegance. So a lot of florals, very sumptuous and comfortable. And in fact, people have said to me over the last year or so, when I've really pared back my style, that they miss that. And I completely understand why you would miss it, because it was so beautiful. But it is simply not relevant to the life that I live or the person that I am now. So even though people really like it, I just wouldn't be able to keep it now because it wouldn't be genuine or authentic. You have to evolve your style if you're changing throughout life. Time is moving on, and if you feel like you need to change your style, don't cling on to it. Evolve and change, and I promise you, it will make you feel a lot happier. So this is the newest piece of artwork in my home, and it is by a local artist called Jonathan Fremantle. I actually did a video with him just a few weeks ago, so apologies if you already know about this painting, but it is a new one, so I thought that I would share it with you. And again, it is all about having things in your home that you really love. 5 years ago, in fact even 3 years ago, this would be something that I would never ever have had in my home. Even though I could appreciate beautiful modern art, it was just something that I would never believe that I would own. But it is great how you can really evolve your style, open your eyes and appreciate different things. And now it is one of truly the most genuine favourite things that I have here at home. So one of the things that makes home magical for me when I return from a trip away is scent. It's the first thing that I notice when I walk through the door. So it's really, really important for me to make me feel relaxed and at peace when I come here. Now this is my Nicolas Fairford Botanica candle. We created this about 2 years ago, and it is the scent of an English garden. And I have to say, I mentioned earlier that I used to live in the Cotswolds. This takes me back to that time immediately when I walk into my home, because even when it's not lit, it is such a small candle, but it is such a powerful candle. It fills the room in the most subtle way. You walk in, beautiful scent of an English garden. So yeah, scent for me is highly important. You can have the most beautiful room, but if you walk into it and it doesn't smell very beautiful, everything else is lost. So one of the things that I think every home needs to be beautiful, calming, and a place that you truly want to be is to have something in it that is alive. This is my very beautiful blue star fern. It is getting huge. I'll just pick it up and show you. Yeah, it's getting really, really big. When I had it, it was probably half the size that it is now. And I'll be completely open and honest, I never thought that I would be able to keep it alive for as long as I have, and to see it thriving like this is quite a miracle. I'm by no means a green thumb. In fact, I've struggled with plants for many, many years, but there is just something about this one that makes me want to try really hard. It is a huge piece in this room. It sits in the window, so it's something that I see when I walk down the stairs to come home every time. It is a huge part of the room, so I have to keep it alive. It is like a living sculpture, and it just adds so much to a room. So yeah, I think plants are really, really important. So I'm just going to share with you how I keep this little guy alive, and his name is Magnus. Magnus the blue star fern. So what I like to do is pop the plant in the sink, and then I just put it under the tap on a light trickle, and I let this trickle into the plant until it's completely saturated. And I do this about every 12 days, and you can see it's very happy, and I know when to do it because the plant is light. And I let this really, really soak. Then what I like to do is mist it. It should be good for another week. So I'm not sure how well you recognize this view of the room, but For those of you who watch regularly, you may have noticed that here there used to be a beautiful bureau. Now, when I got the Jonathan Fremantle painting, this bookcase and the lamp were sitting there where the sofa is. And I just thought that the lamp didn't work there. It was covering up a huge part of the painting, and with the plant, the painting, it was all a little bit too much. So I knew that I had to find a new home for the lamp. I definitely need to have a lamp around this area. There's a lamp on the opposite side of the room, and lamps should be placed really where natural light comes in. Obviously that's here by the window at night, and even now, like in the daytime, we need lamplight here. So I knew that a lamp had to come here. It didn't work with the bureau. I've moved the bureau into the hallway. In the meantime, what I've done is I've put the bookcase here with the lamp and the sofa under the picture, but I know that the sofa doesn't look amazing. I'm going to be moving it around. What I have done is I've ordered a new piece of furniture. I hardly ever buy furniture, so it's something exciting, something new to the home, to this house, and it is quite a large, it's an old antique, brown wooden, big sideboard to go here with two large cabinet doors. It's quite wide and tall. It's a very statement piece for this part of the room. I think a lamp will look really great on top of it, and I've also seen on Facebook Marketplace a huge 50-inch tall mirror for a very amazing price that will go on the wall, and I think this will really make this part of the room into a great entrance. The door is just here, so when you walk in you can have a look in the mirror to make sure that you're looking okay, or when you're leaving even. You've got a big lamp for light. I just think it will provide a nice place to put down keys, just a great place to walk into and just deflate. So that is going to be there, and then this bookcase is going to go back under the painting with nothing on top. It just needs that there, peaceful and calm. So I'm excited for you to see those changes. I'm waiting for that sideboard to come, so when it comes I will show you, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it. So I'm just here in my bedroom, and one of the things that really brings me joy and pleasure are books. I've collected beautiful books for quite a long time now, I'd say for the last 10 years, and it started really with a thirst for knowledge and information about interior design. So at the time I just bought a property with my previous boyfriend, and it was a historic home, and I wanted to do it justice. So I thought the only way that I could do that was to wait and learn as much as possible about that period of decor and how to decorate it properly. And that started my love affair with beautiful coffee table books. I bought a lot of classical interior decoration books, and then it evolved to things like this one. This is by Assouline, and they create a series of these type of books about different locations around the world. Capri is one of my very favourite places ever, and I just love to look through books like this to make me feel inspired on a cloudy, rainy day, just to make me think about what's coming up in the next season. You know, when it gets a little bit dark, you need that, I think. But one of the first books that I ever bought was this one, and this is called Inspirational Interiors by Roger Banks Pye. He was one of the lead designers at Sybil Colfax and John Fowler, which is probably the most quintessentially English interior design company that we have. It's quite old, it's classic, timeless, and this book is like an interior design manual. It's pretty cool, so that is one that I always look at. But yes, I really do like books, and I think that even though my style has changed and evolved, I'll always hold on to them, because there's always a reference in there to find somewhere. There's always something, a little glimmer of information, a little picture that will just give you an idea, or think, ha, that is what I was looking for. So for me, the bedroom is a really important part of my home. And if it wasn't beautiful, peaceful and calming, then obviously it wouldn't be a very nice place to be. So I always like to make sure that my bedroom is a sanctuary. And I do that very simply by keeping it a beautiful, calming colour, green. Reminds you of nature. It makes you feel grounded. Gorgeous white crisp bed linens. I always take the time to make sure that my sheets are properly pressed and ironed. I know it's hard work, a bit of a faff, but if you make the effort, you'll enjoy the process of doing it and the finished look will be so much nicer. Just look how beautiful and squashy these pillows are, and they're pressed to perfection. I like to iron my pillowcases and then fold them and iron them again so they've got beautiful lines in. I love those lines and creases. For me, it's like a beautiful crease down the front of a man's trouser. So yeah, I like to do that with my pillows and cushions. But yeah, my bedroom is very calming. I like to lay here, lay in bed with tea, reading a book or scrolling through TikTok. It's a nice place to relax. A lot of questions about this painting. People were concerned that I'd got rid of it because it's disappeared out of the living room, but it's something that I will keep forever. This painting has a meaning. It is the village that I used to live in, the Cotswolds. So for that reason, even though my tastes have changed, it still works in my home because it's the story of my life and who I am. So I am thinking about changing the frame. I think I've mentioned that quite a few times. But a friend of mine, actually Jonathan Fremantle, the artist who made the painting, he suggested that I paint this frame in the same colour as the wall and just let it blend in seamlessly because it is quite an ornate piece. It takes a little bit away from the painting. And I think that is a very clever idea because it will look kind of chic and modern but still has that classic edge to it. So I think I'm going to try that before I replace the frame, and I think it will probably work out really well. So yeah, the painting is still in the house, it's still here, and I still really love it, and I just think it works so well in this room. So the newest addition to this room is in fact the TV, and that is something that I never thought that I would have in my home. Well, not in my living room at least. If I've had TVs before, I've usually put them into the bedroom. And I didn't have a TV for the longest time because actually I think, and I still believe, that it really doesn't add anything beautiful in the room. So you can see it's just a big black box. It looks very unappealing, very unattractive, but you do have to live your life. And what I was finding was that in the evenings, I was a little bit lost in here. Even though it was relaxing and beautiful, I kind of wanted to watch something on telly. I like to watch period dramas like Downton Abbey, The Crown, and sometimes there are really beautiful films that just make you relax. And so there's no point having this room just to sit here looking at everything if you're not going to enjoy the space. So I thought that I would definitely, eventually, get a television. So I have. It's not the biggest, and I think this is going to be a temporary solution. So it's just sitting on my desk at the minute. It's really the only place for it to go in here. Now I know that you can get a really incredible solution of having a wall-mounted television that goes into a mirror. I've seen them on Instagram. There's a company where the TV's actually behind the mirror glass, so you'll never ever know that it's a mirror. They're probably very expensive. And I'm sure there are many other ways that you can hide the TV. But for now, the TV is going to be there, staying like that. And I have to say that I have really enjoyed having the TV in my home. It's been so nice to be able to sit down on the sofa in the evening, lighting the candles, getting it all cozy and watching some good television. So even though it's not the most beautiful thing in here, and it really does alter the way the room looks, it's going to be staying for a short time yet. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I look forward to seeing you next time, but until then, take care. Bye-bye.